Here's a look into a Pharah Mercy composition that eUnited were running, again in contenders. This time it's in the group stages where they were playing against Team Expert, and they also ran it when they were playing against Laser Kittens. So I'm going to pull up both VODs. But starting the first time that I'd seen them run it was in the group stages. Obviously, not all of the group stages were actually broadcast, so they probably played Oasis more than just this time, but this was the first time that I'd seen them run this composition. This isn't actually it as well. So they start out with Morte on Lucio. And his job is literally just to speed boost him out the door. If I had the sound on, you'd hear him go like, "Oh, let's pump it up" or something. Then he switches over to Mercy. So this is the composition that they're running. And obviously this differs from the classic Pharah Mercy composition that you would see kind of a lot of the North American teams running over on the Garden of Oasis. Because they have no D.Va in the composition. They're running a solo tank, and instead of running a Mercy Lucio and really focusing on having a lot of healing and sustain on the floor, along with the sound barrier to use in coordination with the Resurrect, they have Boombox over on Zen. And part of why they have Boombox on Zen, I'm sure, is just because Boombox is a nutty Zen. But it's also pretty interesting. And then they've got this triple DPS, so unfixed on the Soldier instead of the D.Va. And the rest is the same. So two key switches there. And this plays, in my opinion, very nicely into what they were expecting Team Expert to run, which is this classic Pharah Mercy composition for Oasis Gardens. And the reason why this works so well, in my opinion, they actually lose the first fight. I'll just leave this playing until we get to the juicy parts. They lose the first fight, but the idea of this is that it's actually much easier to retake because you don't have to force an entirely fair fight. You can just sit much more passively and spam because you have a huge kill potential onto their Pharah Mercy, which is just not present if you're trying to run a mirror of this composition. So when teams are running mirror comps of this, the composition is very much split in half. So the Pharah and Mercy will be playing on their own, and the rest of the team will kind of be playing together, and the D.Va in that composition will sometimes be supporting the Pharah Mercy, sometimes be putting the pressure over on the enemy Pharah Mercy. The D.Va is a little bit more of an in-between, but at no point are they really playing with the Pharah Mercy. It's much more that the D.Va is there to counter the enemy's Pharah Mercy and really put pressure on those. The rest of them, the Tracer's going to try and put pressure on the Mercy, or try and win the ground war. And they play much more as a 4-2. eUnited's composition here doesn't really play like that at all. It plays much more... I'll keep it playing. You can see that it plays much more passively. After this first fight, when they try and retake, the positioning of eUnited is very much in the wings, looking for angles with unfixed, seeing if they can get a Discord from Boombox. So that's one of the advantages, right, is that you have the Discord, which isn't available in the classic Pharah Mercy dive composition. And you've got the Soldier 76 and the Tracer, both hit scans together, not available in the normal one, though you have the Tracer, of course. And you're giving up the D.Va and the Lucio for that as well. So you can see Unfixed here is not particularly being challenged that much. And he has great angles to be able to spam. Boombox is actually being pressured out at the moment. That's why there's no Discords on either of these targets. He's being pressured out by Envision on the floor. So I think you see a shot of Envision in just a second, but yeah, and then he has the Discord on him, right? So Cruz actually has much more flexibility to actually fight players on the ground here as well, because Team Expert's Pharah Mercy, and really the entirety of their team, really feel like they have to focus on Cruz and Morte. But Cranks and Veinless are under so much pressure. It puts massive amounts of pressure and kill potential onto Cranks and Veinless here, because first of all they have to watch out for Cruz and Morte, because at any point, instead of focusing on the players on the ground, they could turn around and then they have to properly dip and dive, duke and dodge in the Pharah v Pharah war. And then they're also facing double hit scan plus a Discord, which applies so much more pressure than the D.Va, if we're being honest. And the thing that you're lacking is more survivability for Boombox, Sharik as well, and Unfixed. But Team Expert are kind of stuck in the mindset of trying to counter the Pharah Mercy without actually just going balls to the wall dive comps. So instead, I mean, Cruz and Valitage give up their life there as well, but they're able to turn it around in the end because Unfixed still has this great angle and Valutage is able just to kind of pop off. And they still have the Resurrect value. They've still got a big defensive ultimate. You know, they trade the Sound Barrier for a Transcendence. The two are reasonably similar when you're playing in these kind of compositions. So I thought this was really interesting in that they've gone for a very pokey kind of style that has a lot of hit scan, huge amounts of pressure onto the Pharah Mercy, which is always the most difficult part to kill of this classic Pharah Mercy comp. And it allows them to flip the point much more easily as well. The thing that this composition that eUnited are running doesn't run that well into is just kind of classic triple DPS compositions. Wow, the bitrate. What the heck? So when eUnited are running this comp, Team Expert kind of gets stuck in just playing their Pharah Mercy into them because that's their game plan, and they don't make any adaptations basically. But later on when they come up against Laser Kittens run a triple DPS into them, and they run a triple DPS without a Pharah, so they just run the Zen Lucio combo. And instead that puts massive amounts of pressure onto eUnited, because Sharik doesn't have anyone to peel for him, he doesn't have the D.Va around. Unfixed is very diveable as well, even though he's got these passive positions. He doesn't have the Lucio with him, he doesn't have a D.Va to peel for him as well. And Cruz and Morte then actually get tied up in either dealing with Kib's, Genji, or Pharah as well. So let's take a look at that and see if I can find the right timing. Okay, here we go. So this is the composition that they run, that Laser Kittens runs into eUnited. I don't know whether they'd scoped them out beforehand. It feels to me like they probably have. Like they looked at the game that was happening in the groups and decided to run this into them. Because Laser Kitten's comp here actually does run fairly well into the default Pharah Mercy comps as well. Because Kib as the solo Pharah, his job, rather than actually directly engaging into Cruz and Morte, or if they were running the standard comp, whatever the Pharah Mercy would be, Kib's job is instead just to try and attract attention and dodge. So the longer that he stays alive, the more that Cruz feels like he can't actually focus on anybody else, because if he does avert his eyes from Kib and stops dodging around, then he's actually a fairly easy target, him and Morte. So they kind of have to engage in this dance of the Pharahs. And then they've also, now they've got this dual DPS plus the Discord, but they're less diveable because they also have the Lucio on the ground as well. And they can dive themselves more because now they have the speed boost and they can actually engage into Boombox and Unfixed. So you'll see, I don't know whether they do it in this first fight actually, but over the entire course of this map, you definitely see that instead here, Cruz and Morte feel like they really have to focus on Kib, and that allows the Laser Kittens guys on the ground to do a lot of work, and they really just focus on the ground war. So instead of splitting themselves up 4 and 2, they split themselves up 5 and 1, with only really Kib paying attention to trying to tie up Cruz and Morte, and the rest of them diving the players on the ground and then mopping up Cruz and Morte, or getting the easy kill on Morte if possible. I mean, this one at the beginning here was kind of ridiculous because Morte was picked within the first 5 seconds by Malzasser, and I don't even know how that happened. That shouldn't happen normally. That's not even the game plan as far as I'm aware, but Laser Kittens will take it, you know. The other problem with eUnited's composition that they're not running the D.Va is that if they're running into anything other than the normal Pharah Mercy composition that doesn't have a Soldier 76, if they're running into either the triple DPS normal or the triple DPS like this with the Pharah, they're very open to tactical visors because they don't have it. I think Krems absolutely wrecks them with this first one as well. He gets in a great position and he's able to really take it. So they still do have the sustain power of the Pharah Mercy, but there's still a lot of pressure on Boombox. Boombox can kind of deal with it because he's so good, but in general, this is a nice kind of counter comp from Laser Kittens. They lose the first one, ridiculous Helix Rocket as well, but I think they managed to turn it around and recap with Krems getting onto them. And in the end, a lot of these Gardens battles are very close as well because it's easy to contest, and none of these comps are, I would call them, none of them are hard counters, but they're definitely ways of getting back into a fight easier, or being able to take down a composition or play to your strengths, whatever they happen to be. Krems up with his tactical visor. There's no D.Va on the field as well. Krems should get into a decent position up top, and then he can just wreck the Pharah Mercy. So he pops it out. instantly Mortar dies. They find another couple of picks in a second as well, as Cruz also falls. And throughout the rest of this round, I'm gonna cut it short here anyway. You don't need to watch the entire round. You can go and watch the VOD if you want to. But basically, Unfixed and Boombox die much more often because they don't have like speed boost disengages. They don't have the heals. They don't have the second defensive ultimate. These guys, it plays much nicer without the D.Va, whereas normally this kind of composition would struggle a little bit more against the classic Pharah Mercy compositions, and if you run the Genji there, you struggle even more against the classic Pharah Mercy compositions, on this map in particular, because it's so good for them. So I thought that this was a pretty interesting evolution of this metagame on Garden as well, because certainly for some teams, if you've got, for example, a Star Zen, you might want to run this comp. Or if you just feel like you're really struggling against the classic Pharah Mercy, you might want to run this comp, because I think a lot of teams do struggle to get back into this. But there's definitely variations that you can run on Gardens that do make sense as well against Pharmacy.